Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day and welcome to the show. Listen, glad to have you here on this Friday, the 5th of February, 2021. Thank you for tuning in. Now, toward the end of this show, at the very end of it, I'm going to talk about the vaccines a little bit and the virus a little bit, but just at the end of the show. Right now, what I want to talk about is uh, we're moving into a period right now. This is a very dangerous period. We are not out of the woods yet. Now, I've talked a lot about this recovery that's coming. But we're at a funny point right now in the markets and everything where everything's holding. The whole system, it's all holding together right now. But a bad news event that would come along anytime in right this next few weeks before they get this next stimulus package out. This is a vulnerable spot. And any bad news, any significant bad news that would come along right now could send the market spiraling downwards. Because the markets are like perched right now. It's like everything could fall. Gold, silver, cryptos, the markets, everything could fall. Money could just be lost on an unimaginable scale very, very quickly, especially because of computer trading. We're in a very vulnerable position right now in this whole thing. And if we can get through these next few weeks without nothing happening, everything staying calm, then as we move further in, and I saw this ahead of time, like way back last year, toward the end of last year, I told you guys, this is going to be a bad period that we need to get through. And we're coming through the last end of it now. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we're not there yet. We're still in the woods. We're still in the thick of things, and things could spiral out of control and go downwards very, very quickly. If something were to come along, some black swan right now. It wouldn't even take actually a black swan. Maybe just some little company going down or something. Another GameStop or something like that. Could spiral things when things start, people could panic out of the markets right now. Because the whole thing is it's a house of cards. Anyway, let's get started and let's open up the charts right here. And take a look. We're looking at gold. It's up $10 today. It's at 1804. Now gold crossed the moving averages. It went down so low, it crossed below the moving averages. And typically that's not a good signal. That's a sell signal, typically, right? But in this case, this is a special circumstance that's happened. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a sell signal, even though gold crossed below the moving averages, But what we're looking at today is it's on the rise just a little bit, 1804. Now let's take a look at silver today. Silver's right in the middle of its range. It's up 34 cents at 64.43. One of the things about this is why I say, even though gold is crossed below its moving average, and normally that would be a little bit of a sell sign, get out of there sign, normally, in a normal market. This is not a normal market. They have suppressed gold and silver for so long, and you got to take into consideration cost of production. Fuel prices are going up. Today, fuel prices are going up. Everything, the price on everything you buy, if you're a miner out there and you got to buy new equipment or you got to upgrade your mine or whatever, everything is so darn expensive right now, Their cost of production has went up a lot just in the last year or two for the mines, especially being as they have to work around this COVID thing as well, all the miners. I mean, it's just I haven't seen the figures for mining production for 2021, but I imagine it's going to be dismal. Meanwhile, demand for supply of physical gold and silver is off the charts, It's going to, toward the end of this year, it's going to show itself. I mean, you got two balance sheets here. You got the amount of silver that's coming in from the mines that has to be distributed for all of these different types of industry, making solar panels and everything else, and they're consuming it. At the same time, you've got bar and coin demand sucking from that mining supply as well, and they're going to have to go into a huge deficit. Do they have that silver to keep supplying that deficit? Where are they going to get it? They could be. It's very well possible that they could be running on vapors at this point. Like a person that has no gas left in the tank. Hey Martha, look, it's on empty, but I'm still driving, sort of thing. Maybe that's the way with them. Maybe they're right down running on vapors, and they're not going to tell you. And tremendous demand and no supply of anything generally means price soars. But in this case, they're able to control the price with the paper market by creating paper short contracts, and it's completely detached from reality. That's the situation. Cryptocurrency today, what we're looking at is we're looking at 1167 billions. That's 1,167,000,000,000. Let me just refresh the page. 172. It's just went up 5 more billion. So it's climbing right now. The price. Bitcoin price at 38,101. And Ethereum at 1730. XRP at 43 cents. Polkadot's at $20.88. Oh my goodness, Polkadot. I recommended that on my other channel. I recommended Polkadot. I said, it's one of the coins I recommended. And it's way up. It was $4 when I recommended it. And just a few weeks ago. Now it's $20.88. Cardano, 50 cents. Chainlink's $26.36. Litecoin is $154.81. And Binance Coin's $59.71. Let's move on. Take a look further. We're looking at the Dow right now, and it's up 31 points, 31,087. Boy, she's sitting up there on a perch, just like a clay target, right now. I'm telling you. So it's dangerous in this market, It's very dangerous right now. It's very dangerous to hold a position in this market or whatever, you don't really own your stock anyway. If the brokerage house or whatever, if they all go down, if suddenly for some reason or another, you don't really own their stock, and you don't really have anything there. You don't really have even any recourse. With the banks, you got your money in the bank, you have very little recourse. But you do have some recourse through the Federal Deposit Insurance Commission, through that insurance that you have for your money. It's in the bank. You do have a certain amount of recourse, but they don't have enough. If more than one or two or three of these big banks start to go down, they don't have enough to cover it. And the big guys out there, the big players, they would get the money, the first crack at the money. They always do. They probably got all the paperwork needed. They know exactly who to send it to and everything. The big guys, and they'll get first crack at the money ahead of you. So even your bank account's not safe. People think their money's insured. They think, hey, I'm great. I'm insured to $100,000 on my account at the bank. No, it's not safe. It's not safe. That insurance just won't cover it if they have a big banking crisis, And also, it's already written into law that they can actually do what's called a haircut. It's called a bail-in of the bank. And they can quite literally take any amount they want of your funds legally out of the bank. I know they don't do it. They've only done it once in one country. Cyprus did it years ago. I think that was a test case. They're testing, they're feeling the water to see how the people's reaction would be to them actually stealing your money from the bank. Honest to goodness, it's such a weird system we're living in. Crude oil today, 57.09 today, and it's moving up in price. It's up 86 cents. It's getting up near 60 bucks. The move index today, what we're looking at here is 47.25, and it's basically going along sideways. Bonds and rates, we're looking at the long end is rising. They don't like to see that, especially the 10-year. It's up almost what is it, 9.9 basis points? It's moved quite a little bit, quite sharply. The long end is moving up. Now they're controlling the short end. They get the short end tight, and they're keeping their interest rates down low on the short end, but the long end is rising. They're not going to let that go very far. But they don't want to step in right now, but they might have to if it moves up too high. If the 10-year starts to get up around 2%, it's at 1.14 today. I think they'll step in before it gets to 2%, and I think they're going to have to. I think in probably the next 6 months, they're going to have to do something called yield curve control out to the long end of the yield curve. This basically means, I guess, the central bank's buying up all the bonds themselves. And if you don't think that that's going to be bullish for gold, then you don't know how bullish that's going to be yet, because that's going to be bullish for gold. If they have to do yield curve control, I don't see any way out of it. They're going to have to. The day they start to do yield curve control and they start buying up the bonds themselves on the long end of the yield curve, you watch gold start to really rally. That's going to do it, boys. Okay, take a look at this. U.S. dollar index, 91.14. And the dollar's starting to slope downwards today. Until this next stimulus package actually gets out there, I could see the dollar retaining some strength in the next little while. And we could see it go as high as maybe 93 or 94 on the U.S. dollar index before that strength runs out. I think this is the last hurrah for the dollar. The dollar's going through that thing right now. And, you know, you ever heard of the milkshake theory with the dollar? There's validity behind that milkshake theory. There is actual truth behind that. And that's the reason why the dollar hasn't fell already. The dollar would have already fell already if it wasn't for that. You know, that they need it. They need the dollar, you know, and that's the milkshake theory. And it's real. It's real. And it's supported the dollar for a long time now, when the dollar should have been dead and gone. Let's take a look now, and we're going to talk about the virus. I'm going to tell you guys what. This virus is the most dangerous thing humanity's ever come across. And it's mutating and everything else, you know. And I think we're going to get rid of it. I think that the jabs are going to get rid of it. You know, the vaccinations. I think they're going to get rid of the virus. But this virus, you know, I think that when people have it, okay, you catch the virus or you get the shot. Doesn't matter. You have a certain amount of immunity for a period of time. That's our window of opportunity to get rid of this thing. Is that window or that period of time. That's our opportunity for breaking transmission. This virus has to move. It has to be spread from one person to another, or it dies out and it disappears, right? Now the problem with this immunity is, this immunity probably only lasts a year or two at most. So what happens is we go through this huge effort to get rid of it, and we're successful and we get rid of it. Years pass, a year, maybe 2 years pass, you know. If this virus is still hanging around out there, it can spread through the whole world all over again, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, after people have lost their immunity. And then we'd have to go through this all over again, this whole thing of the shots everywhere for the whole world. Yeah, we would have the shots ready then, but, you know, I mean, this virus is going to remain a threat for a long period of time against the whole world. And it's the most dangerous thing, because just a tiny little bit of it can spread everywhere, all around the world again, you know. So I personally, I think once we're rid of it, I mean, they should be very careful not to let this thing get loose again. remain vigilant after we get rid of it. And I think we're in the process right now of working toward getting rid of it. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be so glad when this thing's gone, because, when you catch this thing, even if you don't get real sick with it and you get over it or whatever, it's hard to tell what it's doing to your body. You don't know. It could be attacking any organ in your body. We don't know the long-term side effects from what this virus can potentially do to your system and your body. And people argue, well, what about the shots, Well, you have to weigh the two. And in my mind, I sit there and I say, oh, well, the virus is a definite. I mean, you don't want that. But the shot, to me, it's like other shots. I mean, you go in once every 10 years and you get your tetanus shot. I mean, it's just something you do because you don't want to get tetanus either. Or if your kids are out playing and they get bit by a skunk or a raccoon, well, you take them in and get their rabies shot. Because you don't want the alternative of that either, So shots are not, I mean, nobody's going to argue and say, well, shots are great, but the thing is you have to weigh it against the other side of the shot, which is the virus standing there. And we know the effects of it can have long-term side effects and everything else. So nobody wants that. We got to get rid of this thing worldwide. And once it's gone, then it's going to be happy days again, I hope we never, I'll tell you, in my life, I hope I never ever see another pandemic. I never realized pandemics were such trouble causers before. Like, I never realized, like, the people back in 1918 had to go through this garbage. And I never realized, that a pandemic is such a horrible thing to go through, And for all the people out there, everybody has been touched by this thing. And not in a good way, Listen, thank you guys for listening to my show. Oh, and this AstraZeneca works against the mutant COVID. This new vaccine they got works against the mutant version of the COVID, Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next show. And you guys have a great rest of the afternoon. Bye-bye.